How many times has someone come up to you and shown you some love, given you just the best testimonial you've ever heard, and you were the only one to hear it? Let's not let that happen. Listen to today's podcast. Welcome to the Authentically Social Podcast. My name's Corey Perlman, and I'm here with my wife, Jessica Perlman. In the past, it was perfectly acceptable to pay no attention to what's going on behind the curtain. But today, that's exactly what your audience wants to see. This podcast unpacks tried and true principles to put culture, community, and connection at the core of your digital strategy. Let's get going.
All right, so let's talk about the authentically social principle for today. And that was a good intro to that. Never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished. And so as you're creating content out there, keep this mantra in mind. Be proactive in getting positive reviews. Am I being proactive in getting positive reviews? How on the earth can I do that?
Yeah. So again, like just the origin of this, I had to be, I'm my own worst enemy on this. So, I tell people to do this all the time, and I'll go on stage and I'll do my thing, and someone will come up and say something really kind and nice, and I'll say, thank you so much. And I'll watch them walk out the door. And I even had somebody one time go, watch that whole thing happen, watch that person walk out and go, hey, you told us to never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished, and you just did it. And I said, you know what? You're right. And so I ran and I asked that person, I said, would you mind repeating what you just said? And can I shoot a quick video of you? It would mean the world to me. And they were happy to do it. And so, yes, I was, not doing my own, my own principle there. So, yeah. So the problem with the internet in general is that people are way more motivated to post when they're unhappy than when they're happy. So oftentimes we don't have to motivate people when they are dissatisfied with a product or a service. But those that are happy, although they are well intended, to go back home and do what they said they were going to do, life gets in the way, we get busy, and we don't do it. So we have to find ways to create a process for getting people to follow through and positively talk about our businesses online, because left to their own accord, they won't do it. As much as they promised they would, it just generally, they're just forget or they get busy. So we've got to find ways to make it easy, simple, and effective for people to write positive or shoot positive videos online.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, how many times have you found yourself out at a restaurant having a great meal and you're like, oh my gosh, this was the best salmon dinner I ever had. And you're just like feeling good and you enjoyed your night. And you think to yourself, I should go tell other people about that. But at the same time, like it's very, oftentimes we don't, or we get distracted. Or like you said, life gets in the way. What is an example, like in that scenario, what's something that I could do right away to provide some great feedback to that restaurant? What are like some ideas that like right on the spot you could do?
Well, really, honestly, it falls back on the restaurant or the business or whatever business that you're in to try to, I don't want to say be a thorn in the side, but just kind of like lead the happy customer to the end result that you're looking for. So in that case, it might just be, you hear the verbal cues that somebody had a great experience. And then immediately the waiter or the waitress provides a QR code that goes directly to a Google My Business page or a Yelp review. Oftentimes, offices like dental offices, chiropractics, that kind of thing, having, signage up, or even just, and when it comes down to it, I really think a lot of it has to do with feeling like you personally committed. So just use the example of a chiropractor. Somebody gets done with their adjustment. They say, hey, I just want to let you know, I've been going to chiropractors for a long time. This was really, easy. It didn't hurt. You informed me, exactly what you're doing. Just great experience. Just want to let you know. And then the chiropractor says, hey, thank you so much. Just want to let you know too, I'm actively, growing my business here in the community. If you don't mind, the best way to thank me is if you just do a quick review for me from your phone or whatever, the case may be. I would really appreciate it. Would you mind doing that? No, that personal sort of commitment there, the likelihood goes way up versus shooting an email, hey, customer, it was, so great to see you. If you wouldn't mind, we know that that's just an automated email, and it just, if you're just a lot less motivated to do it. So I think a personal ask is always good. And then I'm always asked the question, should we bribe? Should we incentivize? That always comes up. And yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. And the best way I've seen it is this way. You send an email, that's part of your process to ask for a review. In that email is a $5 Starbucks card or whatever, code to get a 5. And it says the following: we thank you for coming and sounds like you enjoyed your experience, which makes us feel very happy. Thank you. We'd also are going to ask you for a favor. If you don't mind, would you, and then you ask for the review on Yelp, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're going. We recognize this takes time out of your day. So enclosed is a $5 thank you latte on us. Whether you do the testimonial or not, we just want to say thank you. And so it doesn't feel as much like a bribe because it wasn't like, if you do this, then you get it. You're already getting it. And this is not something I created. It was just something I saw. And I thought, that's a nice little happy medium to that little incentive piece. So if you want to take that, take it. But yes, incentives move people to action. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I think like what I hear you saying is you almost want to come up with a system for collecting your testimonials or your reviews, and then educating your entire staff or whoever whoever is going to be connected to those customers out in the field. It might be like a pest control guy who's going to a house. Like, here's exactly what we're going to say to our customers whenever they are happy, and here's exactly where we're going to direct them to. So it's like creating that system. We have a housekeeping client, and she was having a hard time getting people to leave a review. And so we helped her create a system that at the end of the week, everyone who she went and did the services of cleaning for, she would text them a little message. Thank you so much for, your business this week. We hope you've enjoyed your clean home. If you'd like to leave us a review, click here. And then that little link would go to the place of her choice, right? It might be Facebook, it might be Nextdoor, it might be Google, wherever she feels like the review is going to get the most bang for her buck. So what are some other ideas behind that? One I really like is just the idea of like, hey, the best way to thank me is to tag me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a great one. So that's more just, instead of a review, just getting people to post on social about you. So we use the verbiage, the best way to thank us or thank me is to tag me. And then you give them literally, one of the takeaways here is to make it as easy as possible for people to do what you're asking them to do. So if you're asking them to post about you or tag you, make sure you give them the handles. Don't make them search for it, right? So that's a great one. Going back to your example, I do want to mention one thing. I love that. And I think that I know that worked and that was really good. The one thing I would add to it, in addition to that, is timing is everything. And it never dawned on me. That's a great example with your house. The day it's clean, you walk in and you are the happiest client on the face of this earth. I mean, I've seen your face. Every dish is put away, beds are made, you could drop a quarter off of it. I mean, it's like unreal, right? Fast forward 6 hours, the place is in utter disarray and you are not happy anymore. So timing is crucial. So if I were still talking to that client, or maybe we follow up with her, we say, I wouldn't wait till the end of the week. I would do it literally, try to target the moment the wife or the husband or whomever gets home, because that's when they're going to be, the bar is at its max happiness at that moment. And then it starts to go away. And by the end of the week, man, that place is a mess. So that just, and I actually say that in my article that I was writing here about timing is everything, I talk about the scooter that I own, and that, I've owned it for like 6 or 7 years. And I just remember my first ride. It was like, I've never been a motorcycle, scooter, anything besides like a bicycle in my life. So I'm flying. I feel like I'm flying down the highway. I'm probably going, or the street. I'm probably going 15 miles an hour, but I feel like I'm going 50. Okay. Wind is blowing through my hair, although I've got a full on helmet because I'm, so scared that I'm going to fall off my scooter and hurt myself. But man, it was awesome. I get home. Man, you could ask me to run across state lines to go do a testimonial for them, and I would have done it. I was so happy. A couple of years later, it's just another tool to get from one place to another. Just, you just lose that excitement, So that's just a reminder to everybody that timing is crucial. So the two things we've said so far is make it easy on us, links, nowadays, QR codes have come back into, because they're so easy to use. So make it easy. And then timing is absolutely critical.
Yeah, I think the QR codes are like making a comeback. They made a huge comeback, especially during the pandemic. And so they definitely are an easy way and an easy shareable, resource too, to be able to do that. I think we've really talked about all the action steps we can take here, create a process for getting positive reviews. In terms of that, what about like LinkedIn recommendations? Like, is there any key things, or Facebook reviews? Like, are there any specific platforms, how you might advise people to go about on the social media platform?
Yeah, thanks for asking that, because we've talked a lot about local business kind of stuff, and I do want to touch on those of you who don't really play in that field, but LinkedIn's a huge platform for you. So when it comes to LinkedIn recommendations, I believe quality over quantity. So when I look at and I audit LinkedIn profiles, I'm not looking for a high number necessarily. I'm looking for quality recommendations. Quality means that they were indeed a buyer. So it's not a colleague. It's not a brother or sister or family member. It's like literally somebody who is bought from you and can share their experience. They share buying signals to other people that are looking at it, which I think is absolutely enormous. I worked with Corey. He took his time, asked us questions, whatever, like he's talking to other people that could also use our products or services. And then make sure they're fairly recent, so if you see a testimonial and it looks like it was, or a LinkedIn recommendation, and it's 5 years ago, we downgrade that a little bit just from a timing perspective. So constantly be asking, look for your 2 or 3 clients that you've worked with recently that loved you, and ask them for a recommendation. I do want to go back to just a couple of quick things really quickly. One is one thing that I will tell you is be very strategic on where you're asking for reviews. Oftentimes, again, when we do audits, we'll notice that like Google My Business is blowing up. You did great. You got 250 reviews, 5 stars, 4.5 stars. Fantastic. Leave that one alone. Move to the next one, like Yelp or somewhere else that's on your Google page there. Like you said, Facebook is a good place to do that too. But don't always go to the same place, especially if you've got that one nice and filled up, because oftentimes there's other ones that have a few. And here's the deal. As I mentioned in the beginning of this, you never can totally get away from the negative norms or Nancy. At some point during your career, someone's going to come along and write you a bad review. And so if it's on Yelp and you only got 3, and somebody writes a bad review, that's like 25% of your overall review. Whereas on your Google My Business, you have 100 and one comes along. That's like nothing. That's 1%. It's nothing. It's a drop, right? So protect yourself by asking for and getting positive reviews to the places that you might not have as many, which would be very, very helpful. And one other question that comes up, Corey, should I share these to my website? Yeah, absolutely. Start them off on the platform, that we're talking about, Google My Business, Yelp, LinkedIn, Facebook. And then you can take those and syndicate them to social media. You can put them on your website, but you want them to start at the authentic place, because that's where people look. When they go to your website, they often kind of like diminish it a little bit because, you could mess with it or whatever, but on these platforms, it's their own. And so people trust them quite a bit.
Yeah. I think about the times when I go to like purchase something myself and how much those reviews, like how much the weight of those reviews are. And like you said, if you only see one negative one and you see 10 to 15 positive ones, then you're like, okay, well, I get that. Not everyone's going to love this product or service. Along with that, I guess, one of the questions that some people might have is, I got a really bad review. What do I do? Like, how do I conflict resolution that bad review, especially whenever you're not face-to-face, you're behind a computer screen?
Yeah, the old keyboard warriors, people, nicest people in the world face to face, but you get them behind a computer screen and they're downright nasty. So what should you do? Well, people always ask, should I respond? I would say the answer is yes. Definitely don't just leave it there. Try to be as diplomatic, non-defensive, empathetic, all those words as you can be. Sleep on it. I always say, I remember when I first got my first negative review on my book, I was about to throw my fist through the screen and you're like, go to bed. We'll wake up tomorrow. We'll deal with it tomorrow. And we did. It was a much better situation. So I appreciated that advice. So I give that to you as well. Sleep on it. And just try to fix the problem. The really cool thing is sometimes we can, and having them come back, edit or add to their review. I've seen this quite a bit. In fact, I bought a product over Christmas based upon their response to their original negative review, which was great. So if you can turn a critic into a champion, that's awesome. And that's very easy to do. Oftentimes by just listening and trying to fix the problem, you can do that. So attempt to do that. If you can't, take it offline. So that looks like, hey, I'm super sorry this happened. Blah, 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 blah. Why don't you come in, and we'll try to make it right. No, you told me, at that point, I'm really sorry we're unable to work it out here. I'm going to leave you my email address, or would you provide me your email or phone number? And I'd like to call you and see if we can make this work out for you. Okay. And get it offline. It doesn't look good for anybody to go back and forth, and they're not going to stop. They're just looking for a fight. So try to disengage if you're not getting anywhere with them. But if you can, just try to be, again, empathetic, listen, don't be defensive as much as you can. And just know that people get it nowadays. A negative review will not kill your business. It's how you respond to it. And it's the general consensus of your business, I think, that people will look at. So we're much more comfortable nowadays with seeing an occasional bad review than we were in the past.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Well, never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished. And let's be proactive and getting out there and getting those positive reviews. Put a system into place. Make sure your whole team knows about it, so everybody knows exactly how to respond when you have a happy customer and where exactly to send them to share the love with all their friends and followers. That's it. That's all we got today. Hope you guys enjoyed the Authentically Social podcast. Corey, any last words?
Nope.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again soon. Keep it social.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We're over here giving you a digital high five for completing another episode. If you enjoyed this podcast, be sure to take a screen grab and share it across your social media. Don't forget to tag us at Corey Perlman Speaks. I hope we can stay connected by following each other, as we are excited to see more of your social media journey.